They say America is the land of dreams, the land of opportunity, where anything is possible if you just believe hard enough. Well, I believed. God, did I believe. 28 years old, worked my arse off as an IT consultant in London, saved every pound for 3 years, all for this moment. 3 weeks in America, New York, California, the Grand Canyon. The trip of a lifetime. My girlfriend Emma didn't want me to go alone. She said I was too trusting, too naive, that the world wasn't like the romantic version I had in my head. But I convinced her. This was my adventure, my journey of self-discovery. I'd come back with stories, with confidence, with a new perspective on life. I'd come back a different man. I just didn't know how right I was. The flight from Heathrow to JFK took 7 hours. I couldn't sleep. Too excited. I watched 3 movies, read half a travel guide, and annoyed the woman next to me with my constant questions about New York. She was American, returning from a business trip to London. She gave me advice: avoid certain neighborhoods, don't flash cash, always be aware of your surroundings. I nodded along, but internally I thought she was being paranoid. I'd traveled before. Amsterdam, Paris, Barcelona. I knew how to handle myself. How wrong I was. When the plane touched down at JFK, I actually felt tears in my eyes. I was here. Actually here. The skyline visible from the window looked like something from a postcard. The Statue of Liberty in the distance. The bridge. The sprawl of one of the greatest cities on earth. I grabbed my backpack from the overhead compartment. Everything I needed for 3 weeks packed into one bag. Laptop, clothes, camera, toiletries. I'd learned to travel light. Be mobile. Be free. The immigration line at JFK stretched forever. Hundreds of people from dozens of countries, all waiting to enter America. I stood behind a family from India, in front of a couple speaking what sounded like German. The melting pot, I thought. This is what makes America special. After 40 minutes, I finally reached the desk. The immigration officer was a large man, probably in his 50s, with the expression of someone who'd seen too much and trusted too little. His nameplate said, Officer Rodriguez. He barely glanced at me before snatching my passport. He stared at it for what felt like an eternity. Then at me. Then back at the passport. His fingers moved across his keyboard with suspicious slowness. Purpose of visit? Tourism, sir. 3 weeks. I've got my hotel bookings and return ticket all ready if you need to see. Where you staying? Manhattan initially. Then I've got a rental car booked to drive across to. You got sufficient funds for 3 weeks? I hesitated. I had about £3,000 in my bank account. Should be enough if I was careful. Yes, sir. About $4,000. He didn't look impressed. More typing. More staring. You traveling alone? Yes, sir. Why? The question caught me off guard. Why? Because I wanted to? Because it was my dream? Just wanted to see America, sir. Always been fascinated by it. He stamped my passport with a force that made me flinch. No smile. No welcome. Just a curt nod. Next, I walked away, my excitement dampened slightly. Welcome to America, I thought. Different from the movies. But things were about to get much worse. I followed the signs to the car rental area, wheeling my backpack behind me. The terminal was massive, overwhelming. Announcements in multiple languages echoed overhead. Thousands of people moving in every direction like a human river. I found the rental car desk, a major company I'd booked with online 3 weeks ago. Confirmation email printed and ready. I'd specifically chosen them because they had great reviews. The woman behind the counter was young, blonde, aggressively cheerful in that American way. Hi there. Welcome. Name: James Cooper. I've got a confirmation for a compact car, 3-week rental. She typed into her computer. Her smile faltered. Oh, Mr. Cooper. I'm so sorry, but your reservation was canceled. My stomach dropped. What? How? I confirmed it yesterday. It says here your credit card payment was declined, so the system automatically canceled your booking. That's impossible. I used my Visa. It's got plenty of credit. Would you like to try booking again now? Yes, please. I pulled out my UK Visa card and handed it over. She swiped it. The machine beeped. Declined. Let me try another card. My MasterCard. Swipe. Declined. My face went pale. This couldn't be happening. Both cards were fine yesterday. I checked specifically before leaving London. Sir, you'll need to call your bank. We can't process the rental without payment. But I need a car. I've got my whole trip planned. I'm really sorry, but there's nothing I can do. Next customer, please. A family of 4 pushed past me, already handing over their confirmation. I stood there, paralyzed, as my perfect plan crumbled around me. I pulled out my phone and dialed my bank's international number. The automated voice informed me that international calls would cost £5 per minute. £5. But I had no choice. After being on hold for 8 minutes, £40 gone, I finally reached a human. Mr. Cooper, yes, we flagged your cards for suspicious activity. Suspicious? I'm traveling. I told you I'd be in America. I see a note here, but our fraud algorithm detected unusual spending patterns and automatically blocked the cards for your protection. Well, unblock them. I'm stranded. I can submit a request, but it takes 3 to 5 business days to process. 3 to 5 days. I need money now. I understand your frustration, sir, but this is standard security protocol. In the meantime, you can visit a bank branch to withdraw cash with your passport as ID. I'm at an airport. I need to get to Manhattan first. I'm sorry, sir, but that's all I can do. Is there anything else I can help you with today? I hung up. Or rather, I smashed the end call button so hard I nearly cracked my screen. 3 to 5 days. My trip was ruined before it even started. I checked my wallet. I had £300 in cash. I'd exchanged it at Heathrow before leaving. At the current exchange rate, that was about $400. Enough for a few days if I was extremely careful. But now I had no car. No way to execute my road trip plan. I'd have to stay in New York and figure this out. Fine. I could adapt. New York had plenty to see anyway. I headed to the taxi line outside. The New York summer heat hit me like a physical force. It was July, mid-afternoon, and the humidity was suffocating. I'd been spoiled by London's mild weather. The taxi line stretched for 50 meters. Mostly yellow cabs, a few Ubers picking people up. I waited my turn, sweat already soaking through my shirt. When a cab finally pulled up, the driver, a Middle Eastern man in his 40s, popped the trunk. I threw my backpack in. Where to? Manhattan, please. Do you know any cheap but safe hotels? He grinned. Not a friendly grin. A predatory one. The grin of someone who'd spotted a naive tourist. Oh yes, my friend. I know perfect place. Very cheap. Very safe. You like. We pulled into traffic. The JFK highway merged into the organized chaos of New York roads. I stared out the window, trying to recapture my excitement. The bridges, the skyline, the sheer scale of everything. But I kept noticing the meter. It was climbing fast. Suspiciously fast. After 20 minutes, we'd left the highway and entered what was clearly not a tourist area. Old buildings with graffiti. Boarded-up shops. Groups of men standing on corners, doing absolutely nothing, which somehow made them more threatening. Where are we? I asked. Lower Manhattan. Very authentic. You wanted cheap, yes? Yes, but this is cheap. Trust me. The cab finally stopped in front of a building that made my stomach sink. The Starlight Hotel. The neon sign flickered intermittently. The S was completely dead, so it read Tarlight Hotel. Windows were cracked. The entrance looked like something from a horror film. That'll be $180. I nearly choked. What? The fare from JFK to Manhattan should be about $70. The driver's friendly demeanor vanished instantly. You want safe ride? You want good neighborhood? You pay premium. You have problem, you call police. He gestured to the street around us. No police. Just hostile faces watching this obvious tourist arguing about money. I was a target. A bright red bullseye. I counted out $180 from my cash. Nearly half my money gone. The driver snatched it and drove off before I could even close the door properly. I stood on the sidewalk, backpack at my feet, staring at the Starlight Hotel. This was not how this trip was supposed to start. The lobby smelled like a mixture of cigarette smoke, mold, and something I couldn't identify, but definitely didn't want to. The floor was sticky. The walls were stained. A security camera in the corner was hanging by its wires, clearly broken. Behind a bulletproof glass partition sat a man in his late 40s. Greasy hair, stained shirt, dead eyes that had seen everything and been impressed by nothing. His name tag read Danny. He didn't look up from his phone when I approached. Need a room? Yes. How much? $85 a night. Cash only. Plus 50 deposit. I did the math in my head. That would leave me with about $165. For 3 weeks. Do you have anything cheaper? Now he looked up. A slow, unpleasant smile spread across his face. This is cheap, buddy. You want cheaper? Sleep on the street. Up to you. I looked back at the entrance. Through the grimy windows, I could see the street. Two men were openly smoking what was definitely not tobacco. Another was urinating against a wall. Fine. One night. I counted out $135 in cash. Danny slid a key through the slot under the glass. Room 412. Fourth floor. Elevator's broken. Of course it is, I muttered. What was that? Nothing. Do you need any ID? Yeah. Passport. I pulled it out and slid it through. Danny made a photocopy with an ancient machine that sounded like it was dying. When do I get it back? You got it back. Now move along. People waiting. I looked behind me. The lobby was empty. 4 flights of stairs. Each floor smelled worse than the last. The third floor reeked of marijuana so strongly, I actually got lightheaded. Someone was screaming behind one of the doors. Whether in anger or passion, I couldn't tell. Room 412 was at the end of a dim hallway. The carpet was stained with things I didn't want to identify. One of the overhead lights flickered like something from a horror movie. I unlocked the door. The room was exactly as depressing as I'd feared. A single bed with sheets that might have been white once, but were now a questionable gray. Stains on the carpet. Peeling wallpaper revealing other layers of peeling wallpaper beneath it. A window that overlooked an alley where I could clearly see a drug deal happening. The bathroom had mold in every corner. The shower curtain had suspicious dark spots. The toilet. I didn't even want to look closely. This was going to be my home. I sat on the bed, which creaked ominously, and put my head in my hands. 3,000 pounds saved. 3 years of planning. And I was spending my first night in America in a hotel room that probably violated multiple health codes. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Have you landed? Send pics. Miss you so much. XX. I looked around the room. Yeah, I definitely wasn't sending pictures of this. I typed back. Just got here. It's amazing. So different from London. Love you XX. The lie tasted bitter. I lay back on the bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, and tried to figure out what to do next. First, I needed food. I hadn't eaten since the airplane meal 8 hours ago. Second, I needed to find a bank branch tomorrow to sort out my cards. Third, I needed to find a better place to stay. But for now, I needed to survive tonight. By 7 p.m., hunger overrode caution. I left my laptop hidden under the mattress. Not that it would stop anyone determined to steal it. And headed out with just my phone and the $30 I kept in my pocket. The neighborhood looked even worse after dark. Streetlights were sparse, many broken. Groups of men lounged on stoops, watching me with predatory interest. A woman in clothing that made her profession obvious whistled at me. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm wailed. I walked quickly, trying to look confident while having absolutely no idea where I was going. After 3 blocks, I found a bodega. The owner, a Pakistani man behind thick plexiglass, barely acknowledged me. I bought a sandwich that looked only slightly stale, a bottle of water, and a bag of chips. $12. As I left, one of the men from the stoop called out, "Yo, tourist. You lost." I ignored him and walked faster. "I'm talking to you." I kept walking, heard footsteps behind me. My heart rate spiked. Don't run. Don't show fear. Just keep walking. The footsteps got closer. Hey. I turned. 3 men. Early 20s. Baggy clothes. One of them had his hand in his pocket in a way that suggested a weapon. "You deaf? My boy asked you a question." "I'm not looking for trouble," I said, hating how my British accent made me sound even more out of place. Nobody said nothing about trouble. Just being friendly. "Where you from?" "London." "London? Yo, that's crazy. What brings you to our neighborhood?" "Just passing through." "Just passing through." One of them mimicked my accent, making the others laugh. "You got money, London?" "No." "Sorry." "No? You lying." "I'm really not. I got robbed earlier." "I've got nothing." They looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. "Aight. You have a good night, London. Be careful out here. Ain't safe for tourists." They walked away, laughing. I stood there, shaking, for a full minute before my legs agreed to move again. Welcome to New York. I didn't want to go back to that depressing hotel room yet, so I kept walking. Found myself on a slightly busier street with actual working street lights. A few legitimate businesses still open. And then I saw it. A diner. Maria's Diner. Open 24 hours. The neon sign in the window was warm, inviting. Through the glass, I could see it was nearly empty. A few customers nursing coffee. And behind the counter, A woman who looked like she actually cared about what she was doing. I pushed open the door. A bell chimed. She looked up and smiled. Sit wherever you like, honey. I took a booth by the window. The vinyl seats were cracked but clean. The table was slightly sticky but had clearly been wiped down. Compared to my hotel room, this was the Ritz. The waitress came over. Her name tag said Maria. Mid-20s, Mexican-American, Brooklyn accent, but kind eyes. Hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked tired but genuine. What can I get you? I looked at the menu. A burger was $14. With my remaining $18, I could afford it. Barely. Just a burger, please. And water. You want fries with that? How much extra? $3. Just the burger then. She studied me for a moment. Really looked at me. You all right, honey? You look like you've had a rough day. And just like that, the dam broke. I told her everything. The cards getting declined, the taxi scam, the robbery earlier, the terrible hotel. I probably overshared. Definitely overshared. But she listened. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. British, huh? First time in America. Is it that obvious? Little bit. Look, I'll be honest with you. You're in one of the worst neighborhoods in Lower Manhattan. That hotel you're staying at? The Starlight. Yeah. Her expression darkened. That place has a reputation. Bad things happen there. People go in and don't come out the same. What do you mean? Just be careful. Lock your door. Don't trust anyone there. Before I could ask more, another customer called for her attention. She brought my burger 15 minutes later. It was massive, far bigger than I'd expected. Hot, fresh, with melted cheese and all the fixings. I threw in the fries anyway, she said. On the house. I can't let you. Yes, you can. Eat. I devoured that meal. Best burger I'd ever had, probably because I was starving. Maria refilled my water 3 times without me asking. When I finished, I tried to pay. $14 for the burger. I put down 15. She pushed the 5 back. Keep it. You need it more than I do. I can't. Yes, you can. And when you figure out your money situation, come back and pay me back. Deal. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. Really. You have no idea what this means. I got some idea. You're not the first person to show up in this neighborhood lost and broke. Probably won't be the last. I left that diner feeling slightly more human. Maybe New York had good people after all. Part 3. The setup, minutes 36 to 50. I got back to the Starlight Hotel around 10 p.m. The lobby was empty except for Danny, still on his phone behind the bulletproof glass. He didn't acknowledge me as I passed. The 4th-floor hallway was even worse at night. The flickering light had given up entirely. Only ambient light from other rooms leaked under doors. Music thundered from room 407. A couple was arguing violently in room 415. I reached room 412. The door was slightly open. Every instinct screamed. Danger. I should have turned around. Gone back to the lobby. Called the police. But this was my room. My stuff was in there. I pushed the door open slowly. Hello. No answer. I fumbled for the light switch. The room had been completely ransacked. My backpack lay on the floor, torn open, contents scattered everywhere. My clothes had been thrown around the room. The mattress had been flipped. Even the bathroom had been searched, my toiletries dumped in the sink. And worst of all, my laptop was gone. My laptop. With all my photos, my documents, my work files, everything. I tore through the room desperately, hoping I'd missed it somehow. But it wasn't there. My phone charger gone. My camera gone. My extra pair of shoes gone. And when I checked my jacket pocket where I'd stupidly left my passport because I thought it would be safer than carrying it, gone. My passport was gone. Panic hit like a physical force. I couldn't breathe. The room spun. Without a passport, I couldn't prove who I was. Couldn't fly home. Couldn't do anything. I ran downstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. Danny, my room was robbed. Someone broke in and stole everything. He barely looked up from his phone. So, you're supposed to keep this place secure. Someone stole my passport. File a police report. You have cameras. Check the footage. Cameras don't work. Then how is this place even legal? He finally looked at me. Really looked at me. And I saw something in his eyes. Not surprise. Not concern. Guilt. You gave someone my passport information, didn't you? When you photocopied it. Danny stood up. He was bigger than me. Much bigger. You need to calm down and stop making accusations. I sit behind glass all day. I don't control what happens in the rooms. Now file a police report and get out of my face before I have you removed. Removed? I paid for this room, and you can stay in it or leave. Your choice. But stop yelling in my lobby. I wanted to punch the glass, wanted to scream, but I was in a foreign country, in a dangerous neighborhood, with no money and no options. I trudged back upstairs to my ransacked room and tried not to cry. Around midnight, I finally accepted that I needed to report this properly. I found the nearest police station using the free Wi-Fi from a coffee shop across the street. It was a 20-minute walk. The NYPD station looked exactly like every cop show I'd ever seen. Busy, chaotic, officers moving in and out, drunk people being processed, someone screaming about their rights. I approached the front desk. I need to report a theft. The officer, a bored-looking woman in her 30s, didn't look up from her paperwork. Fill out this form. She slid a packet of papers toward me. It was at least 10 pages long. Can't I just tell someone what happened? Fill out the form first. I took the form and sat in the hard plastic chairs along the wall. Around me, humanity at its worst. A man who reeked of alcohol passed out across 3 seats. A sex worker arguing with a cop about false arrest. A teenager crying while his mother berated him in Spanish. I filled out the form as best as I could. Name, address. I put the hotel, details of what was stolen. When I turned it in 40 minutes later, the officer finally looked at me. Passport theft? You'll need to talk to a detective. How long will that take? Depends. Could be a few hours. It's already 1 in the morning. Then you can come back tomorrow. This is an emergency. I can't prove who I am without my passport. She sighed and picked up a phone. Spoke to someone in police jargon I couldn't follow. Detective Brooks will see you. Interview room 3. Detective Sarah Brooks was everything the front desk officer wasn't. Focused, professional, alert despite the late hour. She was late 30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. The kind of cop who'd seen everything and trusted nothing. Mr. Cooper, have a seat. The interview room was exactly what you'd expect. Gray walls, metal table, 2 chairs, one-way mirror. I'd seen it in dozens of movies, but being here in person was surreal. Tell me what happened. I explained everything from the beginning. The cards, the taxi, the hotel, the robbery. She typed notes into a laptop while I talked. And you're certain your passport was in the room when you left? Yes. I left it in my jacket pocket. Why didn't you carry it with you? I thought it would be safer in the room. In a room you just described as being in a terrible hotel in a dangerous neighborhood. Put that way, it sounded stupid. It was stupid. I wasn't thinking clearly. I'd had a horrible day. More typing. Then she pulled up something on her screen, and her whole demeanor changed. Mr. Cooper, are you aware that your passport was used to collect a package from a shipping facility in Brooklyn 3 hours ago? My blood went cold. What? She turned the laptop toward me. Security camera footage. A figure in a hoodie and jeans approached a counter. The quality was grainy, but the body type looked similar to mine. The person showed an ID, presumably my passport, and collected a large package. That's not me. I was at a diner. Maria's Diner on Delancey Street. The waitress can confirm it. What time? Around 7 to 8:30. She checked the timestamp on the footage. This was at 8:15 p.m. Then it can't be me. Check with the diner. We will. But Mr. Cooper, I need you to understand how this looks. You arrive in the country, your passport gets stolen within hours, and then it's used in what we suspect is a drug smuggling operation. I'm being framed. Someone set me up. Why would someone set you up? I don't know, but I'm a tourist. I work in IT. I have no connection to drugs or smuggling or anything. She studied me for a long moment. I believe you. Or at least, I believe you believe you're innocent. But believing and proving are 2 different things. We're going to investigate this, verify your alibi, check security footage from the hotel. In the meantime, you're not to leave the city. How can I leave? I don't have a passport. You'd be surprised what people can do when they're desperate. I'm also going to need you to turn over any electronic devices. They were stolen. My laptop, my camera, everything. Convenient. It's not convenient. It's a nightmare. She closed her laptop. You're free to go, Mr. Cooper. But don't leave New York. We'll be in touch. I left the police station at 3 in the morning, exhausted, terrified, and completely alone. The walk back to the hotel felt surreal. The streets were empty except for a few stragglers. Every shadow looked threatening. Every sound made me jump. When I finally crawled into bed, on the flipped mattress in my ransacked room. I couldn't sleep. Someone had set me up. But who? And why? Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You have something that belongs to us. My hands started shaking. Another message. Check your hotel room. Ceiling tile, third row from the window. Bring it to Pier 17 tomorrow at midnight. Another message. Don't involve the police. Don't try to run. We're watching you. Final message. If you don't show up, you're dead. If you show up empty-handed, you're dead. Bring the package and maybe you live. I sat up in bed, heart hammering. Ceiling tile. Third row. Using the weak light from my phone, I stood on the bed and pushed aside ceiling tiles one by one. Third row from the window. Second tile. My fingers touched something taped to the inside. I pulled it down. A USB drive. Small, black, wrapped in duct tape. I held it in my trembling hands. This tiny piece of plastic that someone was willing to kill for. The setup made sense now. Someone had planted this in my room. Stolen my passport to use it for smuggling. And now they wanted this back. But why use me? Why go through this elaborate setup? I didn't sleep that night. Just sat on the bed, holding that USB drive, watching the door, jumping at every sound. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. I needed help. Real help. And I knew only one person in this entire city who'd shown me any kindness. Maria. I showed up at Maria's diner at 6 a.m. when she started her morning shift. She took one look at my face and her expression shifted from surprise to concern. Jesus, what happened to you? You look like you haven't slept. I haven't. Maria, I need your help. I'm in serious trouble. She glanced around the diner. Only one customer, an old man doing a crossword puzzle, then poured 2 coffees and sat across from me in the booth. Talk. I told her everything. The passport theft, the police interrogation, the messages, the USB drive. I showed her the drive. She stared at it like it was a live grenade. Do you have any idea what this is? No. I'm too afraid to plug it into anything. What if it's traced? Maria was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. This happened to my brother. What? 2 years ago. Miguel. He came to New York looking for work. Construction. He stayed at that same hotel. The Starlight. She paused, her eyes distant. One day he called me, panicked. Said someone had planted drugs in his room. That his passport had been stolen and used for something. That he was getting threats. My stomach dropped. What happened to him? They found his body in the East River 3 days later. Official cause of death, drug overdose. But Miguel never touched drugs. Not once in his life. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. They killed him. Made it look like an overdose. And the police never investigated properly because he was just another dead immigrant. Another statistic. Maria, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Help me get justice. What do you mean? I've been working this diner for 2 years, watching that hotel, gathering information. I know the Starlight is a front for something bigger. I know people go in and out of there who have nothing to do with staying at a hotel. I've seen the same black SUVs, the same faces, but I could never prove anything. She pointed at the USB drive. That might be our proof, but I don't even know what's on it. I know someone who can help. An ex-cop. Got forced out of the NYPD for investigating the wrong people. If anyone can figure this out safely, it's him. Can we trust him? He's the only person I do trust in this city. His name is Ray Jenkins. We met Ray at his office in Queens at 10 a.m. The office was above a Chinese restaurant, accessed through a sketchy side door and up a narrow staircase that smelled like decades of cigarette smoke. The office itself was what you'd expect from a private investigator. Cluttered desk, filing cabinets, old computer equipment, and a man who looked like he'd seen too much. Ray Jenkins was in his early 50s, graying hair, whiskey breath despite the early hour, and 3 failed marriages written across his face. Maria. It's been a while. Ray. This is James. He needs help. Ray looked me over with the practiced eye of someone who'd interrogated thousands of people. British. Yes, sir. First time in America? Yes, sir. How's that working out for you? Not great, if I'm honest. He almost smiled. Sit. Tell me what you got. I explained everything again. Ray listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes in a notepad that looked older than me. When I showed him the USB drive, his expression changed from professional interest to genuine concern. Do you have any idea what you're mixed up in? No, sir. The hotel, the Starlight, it's owned by a shell company. That shell company is owned by another shell company. about 6 layers deep, but eventually, it traces back to a man named Viktor Volkov. Who's that? Russian-American. Came here in the early 2000s during the Brighton Beach immigration wave. Started with small-time stuff, protection rackets, loan sharking. Now, he's one of the biggest organized crime figures in New York. Maria leaned forward. Do you think Miguel's death was connected to Volkov? I think anyone who dies connected to the Starlight is connected to Volkov. But proving it? Impossible. He's got lawyers, legitimate businesses, politicians in his pocket. What about this? I held up the USB drive. Ray stared at it. That could be either your death warrant or your salvation. Let me check something. He pulled out a laptop, old but functional, and several devices I didn't recognize. I can create a sandboxed environment. Check the drive without it connecting to any networks. See what's on it. Is it safe? Nothing about this situation is safe, kid. But it's our best option. He plugged the USB drive into a device that looked like it was from a spy movie. Cables connecting to the laptop. Software windows opening across the screen. For 10 minutes, Ray typed commands I couldn't follow. Then he stopped. Jesus Christ. What? Maria and I said simultaneously. He turned the laptop screen toward us. Files. Hundreds of them. Spreadsheets, documents, scanned images. Ray opened one at random. Shipping manifests. Dates, locations, product codes. Another file. Bank transactions. Millions of dollars moving through various accounts. Another. Names and badge numbers. NYPD officers. Customs agents. Port Authority officials. And photos. Dozens of photos of meetings between men in suits and men who definitely weren't legitimate businessmen. This is an evidence file, Ray said quietly. Someone inside Volkov's organization compiled this. Shipping routes for drugs and weapons, money laundering networks, and worst of all, a list of everyone on Volkov's payroll. How many? I asked. At least 40 cops, a dozen customs officials, 3 judges, 2 city council members. Maria stared at the screen. This could destroy his entire operation. This could trigger the biggest organized crime investigation in decades, Ray corrected. But it also makes you. He pointed at me. The most wanted man in New York. By the police? By Volkov. Whoever compiled this and tried to leak it probably got killed for it. They needed a courier. Someone disposable. Someone who'd panic and lead Volkov's people right back to it. But I didn't know it was there. Doesn't matter. They're watching you now. Waiting for you to lead them to whoever has the original files. Or waiting for you to show up at that pier tomorrow night so they can kill you and take the drive. I felt like I might throw up. So what do I do? Ray and Maria exchanged a long look. Some kind of understanding passed between them. We set a trap, Maria said. A trap. I repeated. Ray nodded slowly. They expect you to show up at Pier 17 tomorrow at midnight, scared and alone. What if instead, you show up wired, with backup, and we record everything? Record what? Their threats. Their admission that they set you up. Anything we can use to prove your innocence and build a case against them. And then what? Go to the police? You just showed me that half the police are on Volkov's payroll. Not all of them, Ray said. There's one detective I still trust. Sarah Brooks. She was my partner before I got forced out. She's clean. I'd stake my life on it. You'd stake my life on it, I corrected. Fair point. Maria grabbed my hand. James, listen to me. My brother ran. He tried to disappear. They found him anyway and killed him. Your options are run and die tired, or fight back and maybe survive. Those are terrible options. Welcome to New York, Ray said without humor. We spent the rest of the day planning. Ray had equipment, a wire, a backup transmitter, even a backup GPS tracker we could hide in my shoe. Maria knew the layout of Pier 17 from years of working in the area. She drew diagrams, showed me escape routes, explained where she'd be watching with a camera. Ray made a copy of the USB drive, encrypted, stored in 3 separate locations. If something goes wrong, if they kill you, at least the evidence survives, he said. Not exactly comforting. What about Detective Brooks? I asked. I'll call her tomorrow afternoon. Give her enough information to have units nearby, but not enough to tip off anyone corrupt. She'll have to move carefully. What if she doesn't believe you? She will. I've got information on 2 recent cases she's working. This USB drive connects to both of them. She'll see the value immediately. As evening approached, Ray went out and came back with Chinese takeout. We ate in relative silence, each lost in our own thoughts. Finally, Maria said, "James, if you want to back out, if you want to try running instead, I'll help you. I'll give you money, help you get to Canada, whatever you need." I thought about it. Really thought about it. Running meant abandoning my life. My job, my girlfriend, my family. Living in hiding forever. Never knowing if tomorrow was the day they'd find me. Fighting back meant possible death, but also possible justice. For me. For Maria's brother. For whoever else had been hurt by these people. "I'm in," I said. "Let's do this." Maria squeezed my hand. Ray poured 3 glasses of whiskey. Cheap stuff that burned going down. "To stupid courage," he toasted. We drank. Part 5. The Trap, minutes 76 to 105. The next day, the day of the meeting, moved in slow motion. I stayed at Ray's office, too paranoid to go back to the hotel. Maria brought me breakfast from the diner. Ray taught me how to use the wire, how to position my body so the microphone would pick up voices clearly, how to stay calm under pressure. "If they search you, they'll find it," he admitted. "But if they were going to search you, they'd have demanded you. Come alone and unarmed." The fact that they just said, "Bring the package," suggests they're planning a quick exchange. Or a quick execution, I added. Also possible. At 3 p.m., Ray called Detective Brooks. I could only hear his side of the conversation, but it didn't sound encouraging. "Sarah, I need you to trust me. I know it sounds crazy. Just have units in the area." "No, I can't tell you more until." "Sarah, please." He hung up and looked frustrated. "She thinks I'm drunk. She's not committing resources without more information. Then give her more information. If I do and she brings too many cops, Volkov's people will smell it and disappear. We need them to feel confident. So I'm going in alone. Maria and I will be there. Hidden, but there." "That's comforting," I said sarcastically. Ray grabbed my shoulders and looked me in the eye. "Listen to me, kid. I've worked undercover. I've been in situations where one wrong word meant death. The key is to remember, you control the conversation. You ask questions. You make them explain things. Every second you're talking is another second you're alive, and another second we're recording. What if they just shoot me immediately? They won't. They need to confirm you have the drive first. That's your leverage. Don't hand it over until you get answers. Easier said than done. At 8 p.m., we drove to the pier. Not to Pier 17 itself. That would be too suspicious. But close enough to scout the location. The pier was in a former industrial area near the Brooklyn Bridge. During the day, it hosted some tourist activities and small businesses. At night, it was deserted. Perfect for a clandestine meeting. Abandoned warehouses surrounded the main pier building. Shipping containers were stacked in various areas, creating a maze of potential hiding spots and potential ambush points. Maria pointed out positions. "I'll be in that warehouse with the broken windows. Good sight line. Good zoom on my camera." Ray indicated another spot. "I'll be in that container yard. If things go bad, I can create a distraction, give you a chance to run." "Where do I go?" "The main pier building. That's where they'll expect you. There's a loading area in the back. That's the most likely meeting spot." We drove away before anyone could notice us surveilling the area. Back at Ray's office, the final hours crawled by. I tried calling Emma, but couldn't bring myself to do it. What would I say? "Hi, honey, I might die tonight." Instead, I sent her a text. "Missing you. Things are complicated here, but I'll explain when I get home. I love you." She responded immediately. "Is everything okay? You sound stressed." "Just tired. Time difference is messing with me. I'll call you in a few days." "Okay. Love you. Be safe." If she only knew. At 11 p.m., Ray fitted me with the wire. It was smaller than I expected. A microphone the size of a button, hidden under my shirt, with a transmitter the size of a deck of cards taped to my lower back. It's got a 300-meter range. As long as we're within that distance, we'll hear everything. He also gave me a backup plan, a small GPS tracker hidden in the sole of my shoe. If they take you somewhere, we can follow. How comforting. Maria hugged me. Actually hugged me. "You're brave. Braver than most people would be." "I'm terrified. That's what makes it brave." We arrived at Pier 17 at 11:40 p.m. Maria and Ray dropped me off 2 blocks away, then drove to their respective positions. I walked alone through the dark streets, my footsteps echoing off empty warehouses. The USB drive burned in my pocket. The wire itched against my skin. Every shadow looked like a threat. The main pier building loomed ahead. A massive structure of concrete and steel, dark windows reflecting the city lights across the river. I checked my phone, 11:55 p.m. 5 minutes. I walked around to the loading area at the back. A large empty space with loading docks and a chain-link fence separating it from the river. Empty. Completely empty. 11:58 p.m. Where were they? 11:59 p.m. My heart hammered so loudly I was sure the wire was picking it up. Midnight. Nothing. Had they changed their minds? Was this a test? Then I heard it. An engine. A black SUV pulled into the loading area, headlights off, moving slowly. It stopped 20 meters away. The engine stayed running. A door opened. 3 figures got out. I couldn't see their faces in the darkness. Then another vehicle arrived from the opposite direction. Another black SUV. This wasn't right. Ray said they'd send 1 or 2 people. This was 6 at least. One of the figures from the first SUV walked forward into the faint light from a distant street lamp. I recognized him immediately. Danny, the hotel clerk. He smiled that predatory smile. James Cooper. You actually showed up. You have my passport. Maybe. You have something for us. I pulled out the USB drive, but didn't extend my hand. First, tell me what this is about. Why me? Why you? Danny laughed. Wrong place, wrong time, my friend. You fit the profile. Tourist, traveling alone, naive. Perfect. Perfect for what? For taking the fall if anything went wrong. See, we use that hotel to move product. Guests come and go, nobody notices. But someone inside our organization got greedy. Compiled evidence. Tried to use it as leverage. So you killed them. We corrected a problem. But we couldn't find where he'd hidden the evidence. Until we got a tip that he'd stashed it in one of the hotel rooms. Room 412, specifically. Your room. So you robbed me. Stole my passport. Had to make it look authentic. Some stuff goes missing, tourist files a police report, creates a paper trail proving you were there. Meanwhile, we use your passport for a pickup. You freak out. We send you threatening messages. You lead us right back to the evidence. I didn't lead you anywhere. I came here because you threatened to kill me. And we appreciate your cooperation. He extended his hand. The drive. Now. I held it back. I need answers first. Who set this up? Who's really in charge? Danny's smile faded. You think you're in a position to negotiate? I think I'm in a position to throw this drive in the river if you don't give me answers. He stepped closer. You do that, you die painfully. Very painfully. That's when the second group moved. The men from the second SUV emerged from the shadows. But they weren't part of Danny's group. One of them shouted in Russian. Danny spun around. What the gunfire erupted. I dove behind a concrete pillar as bullets shredded the air where I'd been standing. Danny's group returned fire. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness like a strobe light. I pressed myself against the pillar, ears ringing, heart exploding. Ray's voice crackled in my earpiece. James. Run. Get out of there. But I couldn't run. I was pinned down. Bullets sparked off the concrete. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. Then sirens. Lots of sirens. Police cars poured into the loading area from 3 directions. Flashing lights. Loudspeakers. This is the NYPD. Drop your weapons. The shooting intensified. Some of the men tried to run. Others tried to shoot their way out. I stayed behind my pillar, praying. More gunfire. More shouting. Then gradually, silence. I peeked around the pillar. Police everywhere. At least 20 officers, weapons drawn. Several bodies on the ground, whether dead or injured, I couldn't tell. Danny was on his knees, hands behind his head, blood running from his shoulder. And walking through the chaos, gun drawn, was Detective Sarah Brooks. She spotted me. James Cooper. Show me your hands. I raised my hands, still clutching the USB drive. Don't shoot. I'm unarmed. I'm wearing a wire. She approached cautiously, other officers covering her. On your knees. I knelt. She frisked me, found the wire and transmitter. Who are you working with? Ray Jenkins. He's here somewhere. And Maria Garcia. Her expression changed slightly at Ray's name. Ray set this up? Yes. We were trying to get evidence. That USB drive contains everything, trafficking routes, bank, records, cops on Volkov's payroll. She looked at the drive, then at me. How did you end up with this? They planted it in my hotel room. I'm just a tourist. I got set up. She studied me for a long moment, then made a decision. Mendez, get this man out of the line of fire. An officer escorted me to a police car while Detective Brooks started coordinating the scene. Ray and Maria appeared minutes later, both being detained by officers until Brooks confirmed they were cooperating witnesses. We sat together in the back of a police van while chaos continued around us. That didn't go exactly as planned, Ray muttered. You think? I said hysterically. There were two groups. You said one. That was a rival gang. Volkov's competition. They must have been watching too, waiting for the handoff. I almost died. But you didn't, Maria pointed out. Fair point. Detective Brooks interviewed each of us separately over the next several hours. When it was my turn, I told her everything from the beginning. She took extensive notes, recorded the conversation, had me repeat certain parts. Finally, she leaned back and sighed. Mr. Cooper, you're either the unluckiest tourist in history or you've got a death wish. Neither. I just wanted to see America. How's that working out? Not great. She almost smiled. The USB drive is legitimate. We're still going through it. But preliminary analysis confirms it contains evidence of a massive criminal conspiracy. Between this and the arrest tonight, we can build a case against Viktor Volkov. So I'm not in trouble? You're a material witness now. You'll need to stay in New York for at least another week while we process everything. The British consulate is being notified. They'll issue you an emergency passport. And, she paused. You'll need protection. Protection? Volkov is still out there. So are his associates. Once word gets out that you're cooperating with law enforcement, you become a target. My stomach sank. So I'm still not safe. You'll be safer than you were. We're offering protective custody until the immediate threat is neutralized. What does that mean? Safe house. U.S. Marshals. 24-hour protection. I thought about my hotel room at the Starlight, ransacked and depressing. That actually sounds lovely. Part 6. Aftermath. Minutes 106 to 120. The safe house was in New Jersey, in a quiet suburban neighborhood that looked like it was from a TV show. 2 U.S. Marshals, Agent Morrison and Agent Lee, were assigned to me. Professional, polite, but very clear about the rules. Don't leave without permission, don't contact anyone without approval, don't post on social media. I spent 3 days in that house, watching the news coverage of the Pierce shootout and the subsequent arrests. Multi-agency task force raids suspected organized crime operations across New York City. Dozens arrested in connection with trafficking and corruption investigation. Sources say evidence includes testimony from a British tourist who uncovered the conspiracy. They didn't mention my name, thankfully, but I knew Volkov would figure it out eventually. On the 4th day, I was allowed a visitor. Maria. She sat across from me in the safe house living room, a marshal standing by the door. You okay? She asked. Physically, yes. Mentally, not so much. I've been better. But James, they arrested people involved in Miguel's death. Because of you. Because you were brave enough to fight back. I was terrified. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing despite the fear. We sat in silence for a moment. What happens now? I asked. For you? You'll testify at some trials eventually. Give depositions. Then hopefully, you can go home. And you? I'm closing the diner. Leaving New York. Too many bad memories here. Maybe I'll go to California. Start fresh. You deserve that. She smiled sadly. So do you. Detective Brooks visited on day 6. We've made significant progress, she said, sitting across from me. 43 arrests so far. 12 of them police officers or city officials. Viktor Volkov was arrested this morning. Really? The USB drive gave us enough to freeze his assets, raid his properties, and build multiple cases. He'll likely spend the rest of his life in prison. I felt a weight lift off my chest. So it's over? The immediate threat, yes. But there are still associates out there. We're recommending you return to the UK as soon as possible. When can I leave? Tomorrow, if you want. British consulate has your emergency passport ready. We've booked you on a flight to Heathrow. First class, courtesy of a grateful NYPD. First class? Seriously, it's the least we can do after you nearly died helping us. Take down a crime syndicate. That night, I called Emma for the first time in a week. She answered on the first ring. James. Oh my God, where have you been? I've been so worried. You stopped responding to texts and, Emma, I need to tell you something. I told her everything. The entire story. She listened in silence, interrupted only by occasional gasps. When I finished, She was quiet for a long time. You could have died, she finally said. I know. You almost did die. I know. And you're flying home tomorrow? Yes. I'll pick you up at Heathrow. And James? Yeah. You're never traveling alone again. I laughed. Actually laughed. Deal. The next morning, Agent Morrison drove me to Newark Airport. As we pulled up to departures, he turned to me. For what it's worth, Cooper, you did good. Most civilians would have crumbled in that situation. You didn't. I felt like I was crumbling. But you didn't. That's what matters. I shook his hand and grabbed my new backpack. The marshals had bought me clothes and essentials since all my original stuff was either stolen or evidence now. As I walked into the airport, I looked back at New York City one last time. I'd come here seeking adventure, excitement, the American dream. I'd found a nightmare instead, but I'd also found courage I didn't know I had, and helped bring justice for people like Maria's brother. Maybe that was the real American dream. Not wealth or opportunity, but standing up against injustice. Fighting back even when you're scared. The British Airways flight to Heathrow was everything the arrival flight wasn't. First class. Comfortable seats that reclined fully. Actual good food. Flight attendants who treated me like a human being. As we took off and New York disappeared below the clouds, I finally felt safe. I thought about everything that had happened. The robbery, the setup, the gun battle, the investigation. It felt surreal, like it had happened to someone else. My phone buzzed. A message from Maria. Safe travels, James. Thank you for giving my brother's memory justice. You're welcome in California anytime. M. I smiled and typed back. Thank you for saving my life. I'll take you up on that someday. Another message, this time from Ray. Kid, you got balls. If you ever need work, private investigation pays decent. R. I laughed. I think I'll stick to IT. Less life-threatening. 7 hours later, we touched down at Heathrow. I went through immigration. The officer smiled and said, welcome home, grabbed my minimal luggage, and walked into arrivals. Emma was there, holding a sign that said, my stupid brave idiot, with a heart. I dropped my bag and hugged her. Held her tight. Felt tears on my face. I'm so sorry, I said. I should have listened to you. I should have been more careful. Yes, you should have. But you're home now. You're safe. That's all that matters. We drove back to our flat in London. Normal, familiar, safe London, where the biggest danger was missing the tube and having to wait 6 minutes for the next one. That night, lying in our own bed, Emma asked, so, America, was it everything you hoped? I thought about it. No, I said honestly. It was nothing like I imagined. It was terrifying and dangerous, and I almost died multiple times. Will you ever go back? I was quiet for a moment. Maybe. Someday. With you. To California. To visit Maria. To see the America that exists outside that nightmare. The Grand Canyon? The Grand Canyon. Yellowstone. All of it. But not alone. Never alone again. She kissed my forehead. Never alone again. Epilogue 3 months later, I was sitting in our London flat when my phone rang. Unknown number. International. My heart jumped. Old trauma. But I answered anyway. James Cooper. Yes. This is Assistant District Attorney Chun from the Manhattan DA's office. We need you to return to New York to testify in the Viktor Volkov trial. My stomach dropped. I have to go back. Only for a few days. All expenses paid. We'll provide security. And Mr. Cooper? Your testimony is crucial to securing a conviction. I looked at Emma. She was listening, her face concerned. When? 3 weeks. We'll send details. I hung up and sat in silence. You have to go back, Emma said. It wasn't a question. Yeah. Then I'm coming with you. Emma, not negotiable. You're not doing this alone. I smiled. Okay. 3 weeks later, we flew to New York together. This time, I was met at JFK by Detective Brooks and 2 U.S. Marshals. VIP treatment. No immigration line. Straight to a waiting car. As we drove into Manhattan, Emma stared out the window at the skyline. It's beautiful, she said. It is, I admitted. In the daylight. With protection. And not staying in a murder hotel. She laughed. The trial lasted 4 days. I testified for 6 hours, recounting everything. The defense attorneys tried to discredit me, but the evidence was overwhelming. Viktor Volkov was convicted on 17 counts. Racketeering, trafficking, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. Life in prison without parole. When the verdict was read, I looked at Maria in the gallery. She was crying. Justice. Finally. After the trial, before flying home, Emma and I did one tourist thing. We went to the top of the Empire State Building, stood at the observation deck, looking out over the city that had nearly killed me. What are you thinking? Emma asked. That it's beautiful from up here. Peaceful. You can't see the danger from this height. Is that a metaphor? Probably. She took my hand. Do you regret coming? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No. I wish it had gone differently. I wish I'd been smarter, more careful. But I don't regret it. I learned things about myself. About courage. About fighting back. And about trusting your girlfriend when she says you're too naive. That too. We stood there for a while longer, watching the sun set over New York City. Then we went home.